Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Game Over Cancer. Well, we have just broken our $3,500 donation total so far. Congratulations, everyone. That is amazing. Let's keep it going all the way to 4,000. Up next, we have StarTropics by the BugDoctor. BugDoctor, how about you go ahead and take it away?
Yeah, sure. First of all, let's go on crushing that goal, and here's hoping we crush the next one. Yeah, I'm BugDoctor. I'm the world record holder for this game for StarTropics. It was the first speed run that I ever did, and I've loved this game since I was a kid. And it's very near and dear to me because it was given to me by my grandparents when I was a kid, and they unfortunately have both died from cancer. So I hate cancer, and so I like to run stuff for marathons that involve cancer research and things like that. So I'm always glad to put my efforts towards that kind of thing. So yeah, we're going to get started. This is a really straightforward run. The route is very straightforward, but it's pretty tricky and has a lot of difficulty to it, or so I'm told anyway. But yeah, we're going to get started here in 3, 2, 1, and go. A lot of people call this an RPG to some extent, but it really isn't. It's an action-adventure game where you play as Mike Jones, a teenager who, if I remember right, is 15 years old, and he has been plunked down on this island by a helicopter because he's coming to Sea Island to visit his uncle here, who's a renowned archaeologist. So we are going to talk to a few people in town here before we set off on our adventure properly, because there are certain specific villagers you have to talk to in order to be allowed to progress, and that happens a few times throughout this run. So yeah, so we're talking to the chief here, and he basically says, I'm glad you're here. By the way, your uncle has been abducted, so here's a yo-yo. Go use it to kill some monsters that have shown up in the tunnel, the creepy tunnel at the northeast corner of the village. So we're going to go and we're going to do that. Turns out Yo-Yo's pretty darn strong. So yeah, I've just got to talk to a few more people, and then we're going to be away to the races here.
Would you mind a donation real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
All right, we've got $10 from I'm Doing It. Thank you again for another wonderful GOC. Let's kick cancer's butt. GI and GGS to... Oh, wait, that's GL. GL and GGs to all of our past and upcoming runners. I'm Doing It. Thank you so much for that donation. And let's keep it going, guys, all the way to that 4,000 total.
Let's go. Yeah, so we've switched over to an action segment here. As you can see, the action's a little bit more zoomed in than that overworld. And something you'll notice is that in this game, when you're operating both in the overworld and also in these action segments, you're on a grid. So you lock into these specific squares, almost like a chessboard. And so you can only move when you're like on the exact middle of a tile. When you're in between tiles, you kind of skate into the next tile before you actually perform that action. So yeah, another thing that is important to know in this game is that you do a lot of buffering. So the buffer in this game is infinite. So if I'm in the middle of a jump and then I just press or let go and repress jump and hold it, as soon as Mike touches the ground again, he will jump as soon as he is possibly able to do so. So a lot of these rooms you can actually do basically frame perfectly by just doing them in a proper sequence and with the proper use of buffering. So we're going to see a sub-weapon here, which is the fire stick, and normally you would use this to fight the boss of this dungeon, but we're not going to worry about that, and we'll see why shortly. But it does give us a little bit more distance than our yo-yo, and does 1 extra damage, which is good for taking out these snakes, these loopers in 1 hit as opposed to 2. Got some turn cancels there. This is Sea Serpent, the first boss. We're going to hope he behaves. And we're just going to walk right over him. So that's the first boss. You basically just abuse the iframes there. He shoots you with some fireballs. And underneath Sea Serpent there is a little platform that you use to get out of the room. after he's dead, but they didn't expect people to use the invulnerability frames to just walk right over him. So he unfortunately does not get too much time to shine in the speed run. You don't fight him or anything, and it's also pretty funny because you don't fight him in StarTropics 2 either. You skip him in that one too. So he never really gets a good chance. So now we're talking to Babu, and he's telling us to go and board this sub that is in Dr. Jones's lab. And as you might see a very familiar robotic operating buddy there. That's not Rob at all. That's Sub C. They're completely different robots, I swear. And that's it for the first chapter here. It's a very straightforward chapter, and so is chapter 2 coming up. But they do get a lot more complicated and puzzly as well as we go here. So we're going to talk to a dolphin here because we have a very convenient dolphin translation program on our submarine. And the dolphin says that her son has been captured, so we're going to try and track down this little baby dolphin for her, which involves talking to this lady here, who basically says that there's a bottle that she saw on the beach. She hasn't seen the dolphin, but she's like, oh, this bottle washed up on the beach. I wonder if it's a clue to the missing dolphin. So it's just up here. It doesn't appear until you actually talk to her. And then you get a note from this bottle, which is from your abducted uncle. And he says, I was abducted by aliens. And, there are times where you might think your uncle's a little bit crazy, but turns out Dr. J isn't making stuff up. So he gave us, that bottle basically gave us this code, 1776, which lets us submerge at these very specific wave pools here, and kind of go under various parts of the overworld, and that lets us progress. There's a big heart down there, but we don't need it for the speed run. We don't grab it, any of them throughout the run here. Now we're into the second dungeon. So these mudfish take a couple hits to kill, and something that you want to be doing throughout the speed run in this game is killing things as close to you as possible, because the farther your yo-yo extends when you hit something, the longer it takes to come back, and you're locked in place until that happens. So when you're closer to enemies, you actually kill them faster than if you're farther away. So that bat sometimes can go closer to you. I'm going to do a little hop here, which will set me up. Kind of do a little bit of lag on Mike's movement. Let's land on that sinking platform at the exact proper time so that we can finish this room in a frame-perfect fashion. There's a lot of really interesting little buffer strats that you use throughout this run. We'll damage boost through these snakes because this chapter is not terribly dangerous. And there's a double heart there as well. We grab this cool weapon called the baseball bat, which we're going to use in the next room. Basically attacks all around Mike in a 360 degree arc, so we can grand slam all those starfish into oblivion and just kind of progress on our way. Ooh, kind of a weird octot pattern, but we're good. There's some rooms where you have to kill every enemy in order to progress. There's some where you have to hit a button, like that one, where you have to progress, and there's some like this one, where you only got to kill one darn enemy for some reason. I'm not really sure why they decided to do that. It honestly could have been an oversight, but yeah, a lot of cases where you only have to kill certain enemies to clear the rooms. So I just walked through a secret tunnel in the wall there, and we grabbed what's called the Snowman doll, and we're going to use that on the boss here. We're going to hope that the boss behaves, but he's known to not do so. So this is Octo the Huge, and he has abducted the dolphin that we saw in that last room there. He's just completely RNG here for when he comes down to be hittable. In order to freeze him with the Snowman doll, we're just going to wail on him until he dies. He's got 50 hit points, but if you buffer all your attacks properly, you get them in one go. And that's the end of Dungeon 2.
Quick time for
So we
donations.
have now...
Sorry.
Yep, absolutely. Go for it.
All right, we got
it's fine.
100 from Mr. Figgy. Says it's game over for you, Cancer. And just really quick, I want to remind everyone that we do have some incentives open for the rest of today. We do have a category bid war between Love 123 for the either remastered 100% or the classic 100%. Currently, the remastered is in the lead, but you could probably snipe that for the classic 100% if you really, really wanted to, just for a $15 donation.
You got any other ones, or is that...
That's what I got for right now.
I'm just doing... All right, there you go. So we got... I'm just doing some overworld stuff, so that's always a good time to do, do donation things, but yeah. So yeah, I'm just talking to these dolphins, and the mom dolphin says, "Thank you for saving my son. I'm going to lead you through these rocks." And then we're going to be on our way to Chapter 3. And Chapter 3 in this game is... known as a very difficult chapter. It's got 5 dungeons in it. It's very long. It's got one of the biggest difficulty spikes in the game, which is the 3rd dungeon in this chapter, called the Ghost Village. And that's honestly the area of the speed run where a lot of people will kind of give up or definitely struggle to kind of get through. So I'm hoping that it goes smooth for us. So our sub has been wrecked by a storm, and now we need to find a way to repair it, which is going to involve getting to the next kind of large village here called Miracola. But in order to do that, we first have to go through this little tunnel called Miracola Tunnel. And it's got a lot of random enemies, so we're going to hope that they behave properly. You've got these dodos here, who kind of move towards you when they see you, when they're not facing directly away from you and they're on a line with you. Otherwise, they move completely randomly. So they cooperate well. And then we have the monkeys here. They're called ninja monkeys. And they move completely at random, so they can just absolutely mess up run times in this game. Just for misbehaving. But that was a pretty good room, honestly. They did a pretty good job there for the marathon. I'm gonna grab these bolas, which is a long-range weapon that does the same amount of damage as our yo-yo, and we're going to use it immediately to buffer, so that we can just jump across there for free. These things are called boneheads. They're very scary ostriches, basically, that have human skulls. I don't know what designer came up with that monstrosity, but freaks a lot of people out. And that's it for that tunnel there. So yeah, something that I want to point out is that every time we finish a dungeon there, you see a score tally up. And a lot of people think that the score is just pointless in this game, when it actually isn't. It's got a really cool mechanic that I always like to talk about. It's actually got an interesting balancing mechanic. So what happens is, it actually is higher the less enemies you kill when you're going through a dungeon. So the more times you have to go through a dungeon and kill those enemies, the lower your score is, which is kind of interesting. But then, the lower your score is, the game actually has a balancing mechanic where you get more pickups the lower your score is in a dungeon. So basically, yeah, it keeps track of that, and then you'll get more drops, which help you get through it. Still a tough game, but it definitely helps people on their playthroughs, and they might not even realize it, which is really interesting. So we just talked to a bunch of other people in the dungeon, or not the dungeon. This is the town, Miracola. A lot of speedrunners consider this town a dungeon because it's just walking around for a few minutes. But yeah, so we're going to talk to the chief here, and he says that in order to, they're going to help with the wrecked ship, our wrecked sub, if we help the chief's daughter, who has been kind of under this. She's kind of been in a coma in this deep sleep for a good amount of time. It doesn't really seem like it's actually been that long, but apparently it has. So I think the villagers say varying amounts of how long she's been asleep. So we have to go and talk to her. And then once we've seen that Ben-Annette is indeed sawing logs and probably drooling in her sleep, once we've confirmed that, we are able to leave the village here. Just by talking to this guy at the top right. And then we're on our way to our next dungeon. And so this dungeon is called the Magma Tunnel. And it's a pretty straightforward dungeon, but it's got some cool things. So we're going to damage boost through the snakes here. That's faster than just kind of jumping over them or killing them. And then we're going to manipulate these boneheads to do a quick strat to kill them. And then this room is a dark room, so as you can see, lights go out. And this is actually one of my favorite rooms in the game. It's one of the coolest puzzles. It's like a really cool visual puzzle where normally you have to watch the ways the enemies move around in it in order to figure out where you can jump and where you can move. In the speedrun, we just know the room, but the first time through, figuring out that room is really cool. We use the bat here to buffer a swing, which will let me just buffer the rest of these jumps and grab these hearts for free without having to worry about timing. I'm switching to slingshot here. Oh, we got the perfect pivot on the staircase. That's a 4-frame save. Huge deal. These volcanoes fire these little fireballs, but we're going to dodge them right here. I'm going to hopefully jump and catch this gadfly. Oh, we missed it. Oh, that's okay. Slingshot kills those gadflies in one hit. So it's really good, because you don't want to be chasing those things around. They're extremely squirrely. And these Mad Muddies, luckily, didn't hit me. They very often will shoot at a very inconvenient time and land a hit, but they didn't this time. Switching to my bat ahead of time here. And we're going to run into the boss here, Magma the Fierce, who is actually more of a room puzzle than a boss. And I'm going to jump over here and buffer a baseball bat swing. And then we're just going to execute this room. Got to jump over those fireballs. And you basically have to find these buttons to drop drop those two kind of locks on either side, which drops the platform he's on. Now, why a magma monster is lingering over top of a pool of water that could kill him, I don't really know. A lot of runners like to joke about him being the water heater for Miracola, and we've just ruined their heated water capabilities, but, to each their own. Yeah, that's the end of the Magma Tunnel. I almost leaned over to split here, and I don't need to do that. I would have messed up the timer. But yeah, so now we're going to go north here, which will take us to the infamous ghost village that I was talking about earlier. There's that staircase has a heart container that you can pick up, which is really good for people who are just learning the run at first and need that health refill going into Ghost Village. But we're gonna ignore it for the sake of time. We just enter this little grave here that looks a little bit slightly different colored. And we are in the Ghost Village dungeon. So these bone dogs operate like the dodos in that if they're facing directly away from you and on a line with you, they won't come after you, but otherwise they will. So we can kind of manipulate them to run towards us instead of running towards them, because we want to kind of lure them towards the side of the room that we want to exit it on anyway. I'm jumping over here. There are invisible ghosts in this room. Trust me, they are real. And I'm going to prove it later on in the dungeon, but they are there. And we're going to see some mummies here, which take 8 hits. They're very tanky. And they're slow, but if they get through, they do a lot of damage. I'm going to do a very specific type of movement here. There are 4 ghosts moving back and forth in this room, and this particular way to get through it dodges them all. I believe it's frame perfect as well. Kill those skulls. And I'm also going to do a jump right here to dodge another ghost. Again, you might just be thinking I'm making stuff up, but they are there. There's a little pass-through wall that you got to walk through there in order to go through this dungeon. This dungeon has a couple of false exits, which messes a lot of people up the first time they play through this game. They don't see that little hidden tunnel, which is indicated by a slight shadow underneath that jelly. So this next room is another dark room, and I'm going to buffer my way through it after throwing that first yo-yo, which sets up the proper timing for everything. Normally we get a lantern item, which lights this room up temporarily. But when you just buffer it the right way and know the room, you can just go through with no issues. This is called an Armstrong. It's the only one that we have to deal with. They just come up randomly, and sometimes they can be tricky to hit, but luckily they behave pretty well. So because that bone dog was facing away from me that whole time, that's why it didn't come after me. So we've now hit a checkpoint, which is good. It's a good time to breathe. You get some parts there. And I'm going to use an item I picked up earlier called the Rod of Sight, which lets me see those ghosts I was talking about. See, they're real. And once they're exposed from the Rod of Sight, we can kill them with our yo-yo. And that lets us progress through a number of these rooms coming up. So we've got these 2 bone dogs, but we've also got a very important item here called the Miracle Mirror. That's basically a reflector, and it's the only way to kill these dim hags. So if you don't pick up that item before you come in this room, you are soft locked, and then you literally have to just die to progress. You only have to kill 4 mummies in this room. Ugh, kind of a weird pattern, but we got the right ones. Waste time to kill the extra 2, but worked out okay. And now we're going to use the mirror to kill this last set of dim hags here. Now we're going to kill the skulls. And then we're going to go in here, and this is going to be our boss arena. There's nothing here, but there actually is. It's a giant ghost. So this is Maxie. The other smaller ghosts are called Minis. And we're going to use our bolas to kill him pretty well. That was actually a really good, pretty good behavior from Maxie. He can kind of move around just all over the place, but he chose to kind of remain in the top right corner and just kind of take the hits from the bolas, which is really good. So that's it. There's one more secret ghost in this room, but we're going to let it live.
Got time for a quick donation?
Yeah, that's it.
Right,
that's
cool.
it for this dungeon, so we're good.
All right, so we got one $30 donation from This Is Kiramari, saying on behalf of Bill, I'm doing it, and myself, here's that $30. So much for that donation.
Nice. Yeah, so that's the end of Ghost Village. Went pretty smooth. It drained the lake there, and let us get something that you can see here called a crystal ball. And normally you wouldn't know this was here until you went to there's a castle we kind of passed called She-Cola, and you would go there and talk to this fortune teller, and she says, "Oh, I dropped my darn crystal ball on the lake at Ghost Village for some reason." But it's kind of one of the only things that you can do sort of out of order. So we do that in the speed run. For the most part, a lot of things are gated by talking to certain people or picking up certain items. But in this case, you can actually just go and pick up get that crystal ball without talking to the the fortune teller, which is kind of nice. So this is now the castle of Shikola. And now that we've got this crystal ball, we're going to give it back to the fortune teller, and she dresses up like a girl. And that's because Shikola is a female-only encampment, so you can only get in if you look like a lady. So now we are wearing a dress in a very clever disguise, and we're heading on in. And the first thing we're going to do is talk to Queen Shikola, who is basically very impressed that we busted all those ghosts at Ghost Village. And she's so impressed, in fact, that she's going to upgrade our basic weapon. So now we don't just have the yo-yo, we have the shooting star. But you only get to use a shooting star if you have 6 or more hearts filled. So once you take enough damage to go under 6 red hearts, you lose your shooting star and it becomes yo-yo again. But then once you boost it back up to 6, you get your shooting star back. So it really benefits you to not take damage in the speed run, because the more health you have, the more damage output you also have, because you have your stronger weapons. And the other person we talked to, the head warrior at the top right of Shikola, she gave us a hint for getting across this little bridge here. So we're going to count to 10 and shout abracadabra, and I want to see it in chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Abracadabra! Look at that, it worked. Incredible. So now we have our shooting star, because we just grabbed those hearts. And as you can see, I knew that Octa was going to jump up. As you can see, we can now attack things from a distance. And also, the shooting star does twice as much damage as the yo-yo. So the yo-yo does 1 damage, shooting star does 2. So we're going to use it to kill all those enemies really smoothly. That actually went incredibly well. Octot's kind of got in the way of our attacks, which is good. That's a very small dungeon. So that's the 4th one of this chapter. And now we're going to head into the 5th one down here, which is the kind of mountain dungeon, which will lead us up to the hermit that gets us the spell to wake up Ben and Ed. And then we can get our ship fixed.
Get another quick second for a donation.
Yep,
All right, we got $10 from Zero Count saying, "Best of luck, BugDoctor. Get those bananas out of your ears and show Zoda what under the Southern Cross anything is possible." Oh, I can't read. Thanks for showing off this awesome game and helping take down cancer. And Zero Count, thank you for helping us do that too.
Thanks, Zero Count. It's much appreciated. He's also he's a fellow speedrunner of this game. Yeah, so we're gonna make our way through this dungeon. We have this kind of lava section just showing up here, and we have these nasty enemies called frappas, which can kind of just show up in really unfortunate locations. You jump out of the lava and chase you down. We're gonna hope that they behave. Good enough. That's not too bad. We gotta kill this Mad Muddy here, but we can leave that gadfly alive, which I will. I'm going to throw my attack here to just time everything right for just jumping over there frame perfectly. We're going to kill that skull at the top, because it's just, why not? We call that skull Yorick, and we just kill him for fun. There's 2 frappas we got to kill here. I'm going to walk down on that tile to kind of manip, and it makes them kind of show up a little bit faster. These enemies are called goglins. When you attack them, they lunge at you extremely quickly. They're very, very dangerous enemies. And again, you don't want to take a hit in this dungeon, because as soon as you take a single hit, you lose your shooting star and drop down to your yo-yo, and it makes all the rooms a lot harder to deal with. Shoutouts to the only green Mad Muddy in the game. There he is. And this bully... Oh, nice, he gave us a good pattern. So we're just going to let him live. He gets to spend time with his family, gets to go home tonight. kill that goblin to progress here. Gotta kill this bully, unfortunately. You take 6 hits from the shooting star, but then 11 from the yo-yo, so it nearly doubles the number of hits that you need to deliver to them if you're dropped down on health. And then we're gonna pop through this wall at the left here, and that's gonna take us to the end of the dungeon. So we jump on this geyser, which basically propels us up to the top of the mountain to talk to this hermit. And yeah, that's it for chapter 3. So very long dungeon, and or a very long chapter with a lot of dungeons and a lot of challenge to it, but very rewarding to learn it and kind of master it for sure. So now, thankfully, we don't have to run back all the way through those dungeons to get back to Miracola. It just kind of auto gives us a cutscene to put us back there. And we're gonna wake Bayonet up with the Scroll of Obob. Bebob, Bobob, Uma, Obob. And now Bayonet's awake. And our ship is now repaired by these people who probably don't operate on submarines very often, so that's pretty interesting that they're able to fix it. But hey, take what I can get. So yeah, we're basically halfway through the run now. Like I said, chapter 3 is a huge chunk. It's literally 20 minutes of the run, of the hour-long run, which is pretty crazy. And now we've got a whole bunch of downtime. So at this point, if we ever get donations, it's totally cool. We've got about 5 minutes of overworld, so yeah, you just throw them out there whenever you get them.
Sounds good. No donations right now, but I will remind everyone really quick that we are raising money for the Canadian Cancer Society. Every dollar that's donated here today is going towards that, and we are very close to that 4,000 total, less than $400 away from that. So keep them coming. And reminder that the next game, Love 123, does have a bid war incentive between the 2 categories that can be run, either remastered 100% or classic 100%. So if you are going to donate, be sure to put it towards those awesome incentives. There's also 2 more incentives for tomorrow during Lufia and the Fortress of Doom, and also during Blaster Master Zero. So make sure when you go to donate to put your donation towards those awesome incentives that we have.
Looking forward to that Blaster Master Zero run. I'm a big fan of that game. Yeah, so we have been swallowed by a whale. We are swimming in whale guts. It probably smells very bad. This is just an overworld section where it's just basically this maze that's meant to mess you up for a little while. I like to see it as a welcome break from the action-heavy Chapter 3. But a lot of speedrunners don't like it because it takes a long time. So a lot of time without any significant action. So what has happened is we have found a small island, and one person on that island, you only have to talk to one person on that little village we were in, which is kind of nice. But he says that someone from Sea Island was here recently, and he went out east, went into the East Ocean. So it turned out that was Babu, who was also swallowed by this nasty whale. This whale's super hungry, I guess. Just loves the taste of humans. Anyway, so we find him in the whale's guts, and he says, "Oh, we need to get out of here. So let's make the whale sneeze. I dropped my lighter when I'm swallowed. Let's find it. We can burn our raft, and then the whale will sneeze, and that will get us out of here." So that's why I'm traversing the whale here to find this lighter, which I just picked up. And something to note is that the lighter doesn't appear until you talk to Babu, so that's something that, again, a little skip that you can't do. And so we're going to get propelled to this island, and this is where the game has this very famous kind of instance where you were supposed to use a particular thing that came with the game. So it came with a letter from your uncle, and you're supposed to dip it in water, according to Babu here, to reveal the code that we're going to enter here, which is 747. So that lets us track Dr. Jones's position, because he has a transceiver in his shoe. So now we can find him. But yeah, so that's like a real-life letter you would get with the game. I distinctly remember dunking that thing in the sink at my grandparents' house and being pretty amazed by it. So yeah, it's something very well. The game's very well known for, and a lot of people come into my chat and they say, "Oh yeah, I remember I rented this game. I didn't have a letter, so I had to brute force it, or I just got to this chapter and I couldn't get past it." A lot of people called the Nintendo Power Hotline to get it. Yeah, a lot of ways to tackle finding it. Obviously now you just look it up on the internet, but back then it was a little bit trickier. So now we're in chapter 5. We got a little bit more overworld to do. So I've come over here to grab this worm, which we need for an NPC at the left side of the island. And every time we enter the sub now, Navcom is going to squawk at us and say, "Hey, I'll let you know when I find Dr. J." So you really want to not be getting in and out of the sub multiple times, because you're wasting time talking to him every time that happens. So we are taking the worm over here to the left, and our goal is to get through that strait that's blocked by the boat, which you'd think we could just go under because we have a sub, but apparently not. Apparently it's a very, very deep boat or something. So we need to talk to these villagers in the last town of the game, called Belcola. And once we're done talking to them, we'll be able to get into the chief's hut there and get some information out of him. One more here, and oh, you darn. The villagers can kind of act up here and can cost you a second or two in speedrun, but it's not a huge deal. So yeah, we're going to talk to Chief Belcola here, and he says that basically a good while ago, in the 1600s, Captain Bell blocked that strait with his ship, and so you need the help of a parrot called Peter, who is the grandson of Captain Bell's parrot, or maybe his great-grandson. Anyway, but Peter has passed down this little hint since then through the parrot generations for how to get access to the cave that will help us sink the ship. And you need the worm in order to do that. So that's why we go and get the worm first, so that we don't have to go back and forth between the sides of the island, which obviously would cost a lot of time. A lot of overworld time, so yeah, the speedrunners cringe at the overworld time, which we try to minimize. But yeah. So we're just gradually making our way up here. There's basically it's like a what's the word for it? It's like a museum to Captain Bell up here that we need to go to through these little secret hallways. And then we enter a code here on this giant organ, which is what Peter told us code to. So he said, "Do me so far, do me," which is do me so fa, do me. And so if you know that kind of notation, then this puzzle's very straightforward, but at the time, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people have mentioned in chat that also is one that they got tricked on when they were kids because they didn't know about it. Press F for the F room, by the way. Room looks like an F. It's a little StarTropics speedrun meme. Thank you very much for luck, Dave. I appreciate that. So now we're in the dungeon in this chapter, and something cool about this one is it's more geared toward traps. So you're going to see the screen start shaking here in a moment. And that's because this bridge is going to collapse. So you need to act really quickly to find the exit, or the button to open up the exit. We're also going to take these hearts so that we get our shooting star. We're going to run past these spears. I'm going to do a quick little sidestep. Oh, that wasn't it. Okay, I messed it up, but we didn't get hit. That's all that matters. I meant to do a little, like, kind of turn in between tiles there, which would have delayed me a little bit, just enough to not get hit by a spear. But I blew it, but that's okay. I'm going to go north here, indicated by the shape of the pond. And we kind of enter these little... I always thought they were like quicksand tiles. And then we can walk through a few of these walls here to progress as well. The rats in that room kind of show you where you can, like, where it is that you'll be, like, fall down a pit. So you gotta watch the enemies close in that room as well. This room also starts to crack open, which is very stressful, but the button's right there, thankfully. In this next room, I'm going to do a strat here, hopefully. Yep. This is a buffer strat, so we can follow this bowling ball, which saves a little bit of time over the other strat that we used to do. That bowling ball is a one-hit kill. If it touches you, you are toast. And there are 3 of them in this dungeon. And they're all stressful, so... I'm going to hopefully not get smashed by any of them, but you never know. Those pirates we don't have to kill. You just got to kill the snake in that room. And we got the miracle mirror again to kill those pirates, but we don't need to use it, thankfully. This room here, we can kind of manipulate the snakes. Oops, I missed that one. To charge us when we're in the corner there. Which basically brings them to us instead of us going to them. I'm going to do a buffer strat here to get out of this room framed perfectly. With the miracle mirror. We're just going to slide right by that bowling ball. Looks scary, but it works every time as long as you execute it properly. And we did pick up a Rod of Sight a little bit earlier, and that's so that we can kill our last ghost of the game here, which will let us progress through this left wall. I'm going to buffer an attack here and then just move through so that my iframes overlap with both of those pinballs, which lets us save some damage. These pencils, you can just, with the right timing, you can just kind of walk through them. It's a bit tricky. I'm going to throw my yo-yo here to delay me enough so that I can just jump onto the sinking block here. And then we're in this is the last bowling ball here. And it's red because it's coated with BugDoctor blood. I like to joke. Because I've made errors on this room a few times. And on pace, unfortunately, and got killed by that darn thing, so... Little snakes. There you go. But we're through Chapter 5. So now we're going to hit this machine. Well, not hit it, but jump on this little trigger for it. Which is going to cause the water to kind of flow in and activate it, and then that will sink the ship. Somehow. And something that we like to do also for StarTropics speedrunners is write 07 here. Salute Captain Bell for his noble sacrifice of his ship. As it sinks into the bottom of the sea. It's nothing personal, Captain Bell. We just need to get rid of your historical ship to save my darn uncle. Yeah, that's it for Chapter 5. And now we're going to head on to the 6th chapter, which has an extensive kind of overworld overworld maze that we got to find our way through. Yeah, I feel like it's been a pretty smooth run so far. I did like a few kind of misinputs in in that dungeon there, but it's nothing too crazy. So in this area, we are basically now searching for, we're following that signal being left by Dr. Jones. And occasionally, our little robotic operating buddy will chirp in and kind of remind us how close we are to him. If you leave the sub at any point and get back into it, it will go to a cutscene where he tells you roughly where it is, so that you can kind of coordinate where you need to go to find him. But it's still, this overworld area is still pretty confusing. You don't need to stop at any of these islands. One has a big heart on it to increase your health. One has a big apple on it, which I like to have as an incentive sometimes for certain runs. Just because it's this weird apple. It's like a joke. It doesn't do anything. You literally grab it and it says, it tastes delicious, but nothing happens. But it's just kind of funny. But now we're going to... We basically made our way through the maze here, and now we're going to see Navcom start to pipe in and start talking us through how to find Dr. J via these coordinates. But we're going to move in such a way that we minimize the number of times he talks. So we're going to sync right here. And then we're in this underwater segment, which I kind of wish that the game had more underwater segments like this, but it doesn't. I'm going to do this dungeon blindfolded. I don't have my eyes open. You just need to trust me. It's a very hard dungeon. I think I can probably make it through this. Hey, we did it. Look at that. Frame perfect dungeon. But now we're actually going to go into the first true dungeon of Chapter 6. And this dungeon has some very random stuff that can happen that can really slow down your pace. So specifically the bosses can act up. So we picked up an anklet, which increases our jump distance by 1, but only for the room that you pick it up in. So as you can see, it's already gone. Because it changes Bike's color, so I'm back to his normal blue shirt. But we're going to get another anklet here, which will help us figure out this kind of platforming puzzle room. I'm going to take an intentional hit from this Octot, and then buffer 3 attacks, which lets us hit that Octot at the right there. Normally, if you don't do that, attacking the Octot at the right, it's basically a 50-50 chance if you'll hit it or not, because... Sorry, 1 second. Just gotta make sure that... I don't want to get hit by these mummies because they do a lot of damage. Basically, damage is only detected every other frame in this game, so... and that Octot's at the perfect distance where it can just kind of... You can completely whiff, unless you set it up. This is a Turboss. He's a big time sink sometimes. But he behaved pretty well there. He didn't delay too long. He could actually just sit at the top for a very long time. It's just a reskin of Octo the Huge from earlier. And yeah, he can just eat up time, which sucks this far into the run. But luckily he did behave. Not perfectly, but he behaved. Those little armets, those little like Nautilus looking dudes are basically, they operate the same as the mummies. They move the same speed and everything. But they take, they have 8 hit points instead. Or no, I guess the mummies also have 8 hit points, so they are basically the exact same. This room, you normally have to kind of memorize the pattern by coming in from the side, but we know it from the run. We're gonna get a weapon here called the Cleats, which let us attack all these things on the screen. It's a very awesome item. I'm going to do this room in a very particular way. That first setup is really hard, but I think we should be good for the room. Yep, that should be good. So those fireball cannons can just kind of fire at off times and mess things up, but they behaved here. So we use the cleats to finish those off. And we're going to use the cleats on these mummies as well. Kick them real good. It's a great item. It's, yeah, one of the best items in the game for sure. We use the cleats to finish off that other snake across the pond there, so we don't have to go back down to get it. We're going to fight Broken Joe, who can also be completely random. He has to open his mouth for us to throw these baseballs in. Which I kind of messed up there. Yeah, that actually would have been one cycle Joe. Actually, no, it wouldn't have been. I'm crazy. Anyway, he has to open up his mouth in order for that to... in order to do damage, and you can only damage him with those baseballs that you pick up earlier in the dungeon. Otherwise, the baseballs do nothing to any other enemy, and if you burn them all trying to kill Joe, you just have to die. So it's sort of a little bit of a design flaw, but it's okay because StarTropics is beautiful and perfect. So there's another dungeon in Chapter 6 that's making our way to here. We see this giant pile of slag, which has 3 holes in it. It's very mysterious. We're going to just have to learn about it later. Now we're heading into Dungeon 2. We're going to walk right through this wall. Kind of trolls you at the start here by making you think you need to go upwards, but you actually need to move right in order to progress here. Kill a single rat. And then we're going to kill these bats. Get through here. Those knives aren't really a huge threat. We have this cool item called the asterisk. Whoops. Which you throw and then you press the B button again to split. Which lets you kill things on either side. It's a really, really cool sub-weapon that unfortunately only shows up in this this one dungeon. But we're going to use it a lot, which is really great. Right here to kill these munchers. Like that. Those fuzzballs, they're like the bubbles in Legend of Zelda series where they disable your weapon. So you can't attack after you get hit by them for like 6 or 7 seconds. It's awful. So you really don't want to get hit by those things. So now we're going to fight this play doll, which I almost miscounted on. That thing is a one-hit kill if it touches you. So you really need to be careful around them. I kind of threw an extra attack there because I just couldn't hear my hits very well. These Rockies, we're going to use the asterisk to kill them as well. In direct fashion. And we're also going to use it for these gadflies. Ugh. Not the smoothest room there, but that's okay. This whole dungeon is basically the asterisk show. It's like, here's this cool weapon. Use it all the time. We're going to use it for these bats, too. For no reason. We don't even need to kill those two, but it just looks cool. Kill that one Rocky. It takes a lot of hits, and it does a lot of damage. These 4, you don't have to kill. You just walk through the wall. Don't get fooled by that room, because it's an awful room otherwise. Now we're going to fight 2 hoodoo dolls in the next room here, but I'm going to hopefully do it in a fairly quick and consistent way. Okay, that's fine. What the heck is this guy doing? They each take 14 hits. I am throwing extra ones just to be safe, because I don't want to get touched by them. Now we're going to fight the true boss here, which is the twin Sumocho statues. Which again, the asterisk. Is kind of what you want to use there. That's it for that dungeon. And something that a lot of people don't realize is it looks like you need the asterisk to kill those statues, but you can actually jump over and jump onto, like, the space right in front of each of their heads is a place you can jump to, and so you can kind of jump on the statue and wail on it with your yo-yo or your your shooting star. And it's actually pretty easy, because if you're that close to one of the heads, it won't shoot. And the other one on the other side of the room won't actually be able to fire at the right angle to hit you. So it's actually not like a terribly difficult strat to do. Now we found our uncle, Dr. Jones. He's going to give us a big old lore dump that I'm going to buffer through. You can also buffer through text in this game, which is really nice, just by holding the button, by holding A. And he's basically going to tell us that that big old pile of slag was an escape pod that had these 3 magic cubes from an ancient alien civilization. And the evil aliens are here to track it down. They basically extracted the cubes from it. So that's why there are 3 holes in that pile of slag. It was the melted escape pod. So now it's alien time. We are at the alien spaceship, and 7-1. This dungeon is known as the bottleneck because it has a very, very tricky section that you kind of really want the enemies to behave properly on. But we're hopefully going to get through it fairly smoothly. So there's a lot of safeties you can take in this dungeon to get through a little bit better, but we're going to not take those. So we're going to go through this teleporter here, and then we're going to go through the right one in the set of 4. I'm going to try and hit this alien as I'm jumping to manipulate him, so I can just walk right by. And yeah, shoutouts to the best track in the game. And this is the bottleneck screen right here. So we're just going to kind of... hopefully... Okay, we got through. You want to retain your shooting star for these space riders, because otherwise they take 2 hits. Okay, we got the gun, so that's good. And killing those things with your yo-yo, if they are on a very aggressive pattern, is extremely tricky. So you really want to keep that shooting star. But luckily, this is a little bit sketchy here. I'm just actually going to focus on this. What are you doing way over there, man? Okay, there we go. We're good. 2 hearts, pretty brutal, but keeping it close. I'm just keeping y'all in suspense there. So yeah, I had that ray gun, which is a really good projectile weapon in this game, and it does just as much damage as your shooting star. Fires a lot farther, and has a rate of fire that's equivalent to attacking at the closest distance to an enemy. So it's a really, really good sub-weapon to pick up. So we're through 7-1. We got through the bottleneck by the skin of our teeth. And now we found a magic cube. And these are the cubes that the aliens drilled out of that escape pod. And I guess for some reason, as they were running back at their ship, they just randomly tumbled out of their pockets in these various areas of the ship that you find. But that basically upgraded our weapon, our main weapon, to a supernova, which we're not going to get on this screen, unfortunately. But once we get up to 11 red hearts, we can use the supernova. Okay, I just didn't want that guy to shoot me. So the supernova does 3 damage, and goes the entire length of the room, so it's a very, very good weapon to have. This is an alien called Jeff. I don't trust him, and I don't want to take damage from him right now because I don't want to lose my supernova. And that alien Jeff is known to troll me quite hard. Okay, there we go. So we need the supernova to hopefully kill these turrets in the next room efficiently. They did not line up, unfortunately. But worked out okay. And we're going to grab an item here called the Vitamin X, which is the StarTropics community lovingly calls space drugs. Just drugs you find on the floor of a spaceship. and it boosts you up past your max hit points that you have to the absolute like full row of health. But that extra health will count down. So as you can see, you hear that little noise every so often. It's because it's counting down my health until it reaches your normal heart containers. Get this orange gun here, which does a lot of damage and will let us obliterate this guy. Oh. Got hit, unfortunately, but that's alright. Didn't trust that green... Those green aliens do a lot of damage, so I'm really worried about them. If you take body contact, they do like 5 damage. A gunshot from them does 2. I'm going to do a buffer strat in this room. That's going to let us just walk over these heated tiles. Like so. Shoot there. Then I'm going to do a setup on Osroid here. That will keep him kind of at the back there while the bridge drops under him. Normally, he will jump forward, and then you have to kind of battle him back to make him jump off of the jump into the pit. But if you drop it underneath him when he's back there, it's a little bit faster. So that's it for Chapter 7. We have this like maze to do, but that's like the action part's done. So this is a bit of an overworld segment. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so that room with the heated panels, it just works because the game detects damage only every other frame. There's a very small window that you can set yourself up for to walk over those tiles as they're swapping, so that their hitbox doesn't collide with mics. So you can just kind of set it up with proper weapon use, weapon timing. So now we're going through this maze. This is the infamous overly long maze-like hallways, a song made famous by Darkwing Duck. I think he has an album somewhere of just remixes of it. We're gonna get our second magic cube here, which is going to completely fill our health. So that's another reason that you don't want to take much damage in especially 7-2, because you get this refill of health, which takes a long time. It's basically 1 second per heart. So if you have lower health, it takes a longer time for this split to occur. But now we are heading into the last chapter here, Chapter 8, as the spaceship takes off with us in it. Probably something Mike didn't really want to happen. And the last chapter is definitely tricky. You have 3 kind of nasty bosses to deal with, and a lot of tough aliens, but hopefully it'll go smooth. We're going to talk to Zoda here, who's basically going to goad us and make fun of us. And then you jam bananas in your ears to stop him from talking, because I guess that's just a thing. Mike just has these bananas. And so this first... we're going to do a manipulation here for this first boss here, which is the first form of Zoda. I'm going to grab this gun for one. We're going to shoot the head. You only need to shoot each head once, and you need to shoot 4 of them. I'm going to move down. So as you can see, I'm walking downwards on that tile. And that's because it's the safest tile to do that on. And moving downwards manipulates this the head into showing up more often. You don't want these hands to appear because they just eat time and you can't damage them. So each hand costs about 3 or 4 seconds. But yeah, for some reason, holding down in this room just manipulates the RNG so that the Zoda head boosts from a 50% chance to show up to about a 70% chance. And that was a really recent finding by another runner called the Tantalus. Now we're going to get through these aliens. and kind of get to the core of the ship here. Those little guys that act as turrets, they only do 1 damage like per shot, so they're really not that bad. Just walk through this guy. So we're gonna get to the ship reactor here. This is a very particular room, and it can just kind of go sideways, so I'm gonna focus on it. That's really good that I got a heart drop there. Nice, we got the reactor in one go. That's awesome. So when that golden globe dropped a heart, if you leave that heart there, it stops any other golden globes from appearing. So it's really good to just leave those on the floor. And now we're gonna fight the final boss, which is Zota Prime. And I'm gonna play it safe here. There's very aggressive strats you can do, but they're quite unsafe. So I'm just gonna kind of lure him around. And here you just want to stay diagonal to him, because he can't do anything if you're diagonal. And just hit him when he jumps, and then react. Being pretty aggressive, honestly. Come on. Zota! He's afraid! Oh no! Okay, that's fine. That's the end. I said oh no because so at the very end there, it really doesn't matter. But I was going to be able to show something off. So that's the end of that run. And the reason it splits on Zota's death is because so at the very end there, he spit these little creeps out, these little Zota spawn. If you go the whole battle and he doesn't spit those out, you get an uncontrollable credit warp at this point when he dies. So we split on his death because you can't really control if he's going to spit those things out or not. So I thought that we were going to get the credit skip, but then he started running away and he spat them out, and so now we could technically play through the actual ending, but we won't do that because that will put us over the estimates. But yeah, that's the StarTropics run. I hope that you all enjoyed it. Yeah, thanks for the GGs, everyone. Very much appreciated. And yeah, thanks for having me on this marathon for Game Over Cancer. Again, I just love running stuff for causes that benefit cancer research and to try and kick cancer's ass. So yeah, I'm very glad to have been a part of this marathon. I very much appreciate it. And yeah, thanks to everyone who tuned in and wants to run. And I hope the rest of the marathon goes well. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, BugDoctor. And right there, as you were finishing up, we did get a $10 donation from Nintendo Natalie saying, "Go BugDoctor," and go you did. Thank you very much again. Everyone, we'll be right back with our next run. You know, maybe get up, take a second, go take a stretch, get a drink of water. And we'll be right back with Love 1, 2, 3.